You know that nightmare where everything goes wrong the day before your wedding? Well, I lived that nightmare when my roommate got blackout drunk and ate my entire custom $400 wedding cake less than 24 hours before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, and somehow she expected me to just laugh it off like it was a harmless drunken mistake. So I'm a 27-year-old woman getting married to my fiancé Ryan, and we'd been planning our wedding for over a year on a pretty tight budget since we're paying for everything ourselves, and we'd made careful choices about where to spend and where to save to make sure we could have the wedding we wanted without going into debt. One of the things I really splurged on was the cake, because I'm a huge cake person and I'd been dreaming about my wedding cake since I was a kid. And I found this amazing local baker who created this custom 3-tier cake with intricate sugar flowers and our initials, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And it cost $400, which I knew was expensive, but it was worth it to me. My roommate Jenna and I have lived together for 3 years, and we've generally gotten along well. She's a pretty heavy drinker and can be irresponsible sometimes, but I'd never had any major issues with her, and she was invited to the wedding and seemed excited for me, even though she wasn't in the bridal party. The baker delivered the cake to our apartment the evening before the wedding because our venue didn't have proper refrigeration overnight, and the baker suggested keeping it in our fridge and transporting it in the morning. And when the cake arrived, it was even more beautiful than I'd imagined, and I took about 100 photos of it before carefully placing it in our fridge. Ryan and I went out that evening for our rehearsal dinner with our wedding party and families, and Jenna said she was going to stay home and have a quiet night in, and I specifically told her the cake was in the fridge and obviously don't touch it because it's for the wedding tomorrow, and she laughed and said obviously she wouldn't touch my wedding cake. We got back to the apartment around 11 p.m. and I went straight to the kitchen to check on the cake one more time before bed, and when I opened the fridge my heart stopped because the cake was destroyed, like completely demolished. There were chunks missing from all 3 tiers, frosting smeared everywhere, the sugar flowers were crushed, and it looked like someone had literally grabbed handfuls of cake and eaten it. I started screaming for Jenna and found her passed out on the couch with frosting all over her face and hands and clothes, and there were empty wine bottles on the coffee table, and I realized she'd gotten drunk and eaten my wedding cake. I shook her awake and she was still extremely drunk and kind of giggling, and when I asked her what happened to my cake, she said she got hungry and had just a little piece, and I dragged her to the kitchen and showed her the destroyed cake and asked if that looked like a little piece, and she seemed genuinely confused, like she didn't remember eating most of it. Ryan was furious and wanted to call the police or sue her or something, and I was just crying hysterically because my wedding was in 12 hours and I didn't have a cake, and Jenna kept apologizing and saying she didn't mean to eat so much, and she'd had a bad day and started drinking and didn't realize what she was doing. I called the baker in a panic at 11:30 at night, sobbing and explaining what happened, and she was sympathetic but said there was no way she could make another custom cake by tomorrow morning, and the best she could do was put together a simple sheet cake with basic frosting if I could pick it up at 7 a.m., and I said yes because any cake was better than no cake, but I was devastated that my beautiful custom cake was destroyed. Jenna passed out again, and I spent the night before my wedding crying and stress-eating the remaining chunks of my demolished cake while trying to figure out what to do, and Ryan stayed over even though we'd planned to spend the night apart for tradition because I was so upset I needed him there. The next morning, Jenna woke up hungover and seemed to finally grasp what she'd done, and she started apologizing profusely and offering to pay for a new cake, and I told her it was too late for a new cake and the damage was done, and she needed to move out of the apartment as soon as I got back from my honeymoon. She started crying, saying she'd made a terrible mistake, but surely I wasn't going to end our friendship over this, and I told her that eating someone's wedding cake the night before their wedding wasn't just a mistake, it was a betrayal that showed complete disrespect for me and my wedding. I picked up the basic sheet cake from the baker at 7 a.m., and it was fine, but it was nothing like what I'd ordered. Just a plain rectangular cake with white frosting, and congratulations Ryan and Sarah written in blue, and I cried in the parking lot looking at this sad replacement for my dream cake. The wedding itself was beautiful despite the cake disaster, but every time someone complimented the cake or asked about it, I had to relive the story of what happened, and several guests thought I was joking when I said my roommate got drunk and ate the original cake. Jenna didn't come to the wedding. She texted the morning of saying she was too embarrassed and ashamed to face everyone, and honestly, I was relieved because I didn't want to see her. When Ryan and I got back from our week-long honeymoon, Jenna had moved most of her stuff out, but she left me a long letter apologizing again and saying she'd Venmo me the $400 for the cake. And true to her word, she did send the money. But that didn't undo what she'd done or give me back my wedding cake. I haven't spoken to Jenna since the wedding despite her attempts to reach out. She's texted and called multiple times saying she wants to apologize in person and explain what was going on in her life that night. And she's had mutual friends reach out on her behalf, saying she's genuinely remorseful and I should give her a chance to make things right. The thing is, I don't care how remorseful she is or what was going on in her life, because nothing justifies getting blackout drunk and eating someone's wedding cake the night before their wedding. And the fact that she can't understand why this ended our friendship shows she doesn't really get the magnitude of what she did. Some people have told me I'm being too harsh and that Jenna made a drunken mistake and has apologized and paid me back so I should forgive her. And my response is always that this wasn't just about the money. It was about the fact that she destroyed something irreplaceable on one of the most important days of my life. My mom thinks I should eventually forgive Jenna because everyone makes mistakes and she did try to make amends, but my husband and most of my friends agree that what Jenna did was unforgivable, and I have every right to cut her out of my life. The whole situation has made me rethink Jenna's drinking and whether there were signs I missed that she had a serious alcohol problem. And looking back, there were definitely times when she drank too much and did irresponsible things, but nothing on the scale of destroying my wedding cake, so I didn't think it was that serious. I found out later from a mutual friend that Jenna had been going through a breakup the week before my wedding, and she was depressed about being single while I was getting married. And apparently the night she ate my cake, she'd been drinking and spiraling about her failed relationship. And she claimed she barely remembered eating the cake because she blacked out. Even knowing this context, I still can't forgive her because she's a grown adult who should know better than to get blackout drunk in an apartment with someone else's wedding cake in the fridge, and if she was struggling, she should have gone somewhere else to drink or asked for help instead of destroying my property. Jenna has since moved to a different city, and from what I hear, she's gotten help for her drinking. And I'm glad she's working on her issues, but that doesn't mean I want her back in my life. And I've made peace with the fact that our friendship is over. The one positive thing that came from this disaster is that my wedding photos are actually hilarious. We have all these beautiful professional photos and then this sad sheet cake in the background. And my photographer actually took some funny staged photos of us cutting the basic cake while making exaggerated sad faces, and those photos always get a laugh when we show people our wedding album. Looking back, I wish I'd chosen a different storage solution for the cake. Maybe I should have paid extra to have the venue store it or found somewhere else to keep it overnight. But I never imagined my roommate would get drunk and eat it, so it didn't even occur to me that it wasn't safe in our own fridge. So that's the story of how my roommate ate my $400 custom wedding cake the night before my wedding and destroyed our friendship in the process. And while I eventually got over the cake situation and had a beautiful wedding anyway, I still can't believe someone would be so reckless and selfish. Have you ever had a friend betray you in a major way? And were you able to forgive them, or did you cut them off? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you think I was right to end the friendship over this, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Thanks for watching.